Geography 8, Book The Environment of Pakistan, Lesson number 3, Chapter 3, Natural Resources and Issue of Water Sustainability. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Saima Iqbal, your geography teacher. Learning objectives. By the end of lesson, students will understand the irrigation methods, Indus Water Treaty, and importance of large and small dams. So dear students, subtopics which we are going to discuss to study today are development of irrigation system in Pakistan, Indus Water Treaty, small and large dams. Pages would be 55 till 61. So dear students, we will discuss now development of the irrigation system in Pakistan. The irrigation system in Pakistan has developed from a conventional well system. It means we were having wells and we extract water for irrigation from them, and up to now we are having in present day perennial canals which are having water for whole year and tube wells. A brief description of the conventional and modern method of irrigation we will study today. Conventional system include Shaduf, Charsa, Persian wheel, Kares, inundation canals and tank irrigation. In Shaduf system, water is drawn from a shallow well or river organized by a bucket, which is attached to a wooden pole on one side. On other side there is a heavy weight or rock. You can see in the figure. A small area can be irrigated by this method. In some of the places also use of pulley to take water out from a well. In Charsa method, animal power is used to pull water from the well. In this method, a bucket is suspended as you can see in the figure by a rope, and with the help of animals, people take out water from slightly deep wells. The Charsa system is not used by many farmers now. Persian wheel. It is a system of continuous supply of water, as you can see in the figure, and irrigates a comparatively large area. In this method, a Persian wheel of more or less traditional design, powered by a blindfolded bullock, it turns a horizontal wooden wheel geared to a vertical wheel at the distant end of the shaft. This carries the vertical metal wheel in the left foreground, to which is attached a chain of earthenware pot or a bucket. The pot raises water from the well and spill their content into the channel that lead to the fields. Kares system, you have studied already about that is in Balochistan. Balochistan is arid and semi-arid region. So Kares is a horizontal underground canal in foothills that bring out underground water to surface. The underground canal may be several kilometers long. It is dug by a group of people who then share the water for irrigation their crops. Vertical shafts are also dug down to the canal so that it can be cleared and repaired to prevent any blockage in flow of water. Or you know that this is an old system practiced only in Balochistan, where water is scarce and the evaporation rate is high. By building the canal, underground evaporation losses are minimized and water is used for cultivation. Inundation canals. These are long canals which are taken from large rivers and are called inundation canals. They receive water when the river is high enough, and especially when it is in flood. So these canals have water during flood season. Tank irrigation. Tank irrigation is practiced by constructing mud banks across small streams to make a small reservoirs which collect excess water during the rainy season. Use and effectiveness of conventional method of irrigation. Whether these methods are effective or not, let's discuss this. Conventional methods of irrigation have been used for centuries. On small scale subsistence farms, the charsa or Persian wheel are still in use. Persian wheel in local language is known as rahat. On large farms, there has been a shift from conventional to modern methods. Conventional methods have some disadvantages. They irrigate limited areas of land as only small amount of water can be obtained, require manual labor or animals, and are more time consuming, are difficult to build, maintain and use, like carriage system. Inundation canal only flow during rainy periods or when water from melting snow and ice enters the rivers. Modern system consists of perennial canals, tube wells and sprinklers. Perennial canals means canals which have water throughout the year. They are linked to dams and barrages to provide water throughout the year, and they irrigate a vast area. In figure you can see that there is a water reservoir and there are channels which drawn out from major rivers and reservoir. Perennial canals from reservoirs of dams and from barrages are exclusively used in Pakistan. Initial cost is high, but water is made available throughout the year, and the schemes may provide for water flood control and HEP development. Students, you may have seen tube wells in pools or in some farmhouses. Tube wells have diesel or electrically operated pumps that can raise water from the depth of 92 meters, that is equivalent to almost 300 feet or more, to irrigate farms of more than 1000 hectares. Tube wells also help to lower the water table, thereby protecting the land from waterlogging and salinity. This waterlogging and salinity are two land diseases, soil diseases we will discuss next. Sprinklers or spray irrigation. This is latest method for irrigation. Sprinklers are connected to public water supply pipes. They are centrally placed in field to water the plants. You can see a single sprinkler in a picture, and in other figure you can see that how they are working. They are used mainly in orchards and market gardening. Agricultural crops are rarely irrigated with this method because it is far more expensive for the farmer due to its capital cost than canal irrigation and tube wells. However, it does use water much more efficiently with much less water wastage. It also prevents waterlogging and salinity. It means that it provides only required water to the plant, and wastage of water is reduced with the help of this method. Tankers collect water from the ponds and lakes and provide it to households and field in case of emergency. In many cities of Pakistan, tankers are supplying water for drinking and household. This method is very expensive and is rarely used for irrigation. Indus Water Treaty. In 1947, with the creation of Pakistan, the province of Punjab was also divided into East and West Punjab. The headworks of canals of Satluj and Ravi remained in India as the share of India, whilst their drained area became part of Pakistan. It means the canals were in India and the lands which were irrigated by them was now in Pakistan. In 1948, India threatened to stop the water supply from these headworks. That would have endangered the prosperity of Indus Plain. As you know that we are having almost 5 rivers in Punjab, Ravi, Jhelum, Chenab and Satluj. Beas is in India. The water dispute was eventually resolved through the mediation of the World Bank. In September 1960, an agreement was signed that is known as the Indus Water Treaty. Under this treaty, Pakistan received exclusive rights to the waters of three western rivers, Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, and India to that of eastern rivers, Ravi, Beas and Satluj. During the transitional period till 1973, India agreed to supply water to Pakistan. During the transitional period, Pakistan was expected to construct 2 storage dams, 5 barrages, 1 gated siphon and 8 link canals. The construction cost was to be met by Australia, Canada, USA, UK, West Germany and New Zealand. The Indus Water Treaty also guaranteed 10 years of uninterrupted water supply period, during which Pakistan was to build huge dams financed partly by long-term World Bank loans, UK and USA aid and compensation money from India. The remaining cost or expenditures was to be met by Pakistan. WAPDA, Water and Power Development Authority of Pakistan, was entrusted to supervise the projects. The dams and barrages and link canals were built under this agreement. Dams were Mangla Dam and Tarbela Dam. Under Indus Water Treaty, 4 barrage, Chishma Barrage, Rasool Barrage, Marala Barrage and Kadabad Barrage were built. 10 link canals, Marala Ravi, Bambawala Ravi Bediyan Dipalpur, Rasool Kadrabad, Kadrabad Baloki, Baloki Suleiman Ki 1, Baloki Suleiman Ki 2, Chishma Jhelum, Trimu Sidnai, Tonsa Panjnat, Sidnai Melsi Bahawal. The Mangla Dam is located on River Jhelum. It is one of the longest 3100 meter at the crest earth-filled dam in the world. It is multi-purpose project designed to control and conserve the flood waters of the Jhelum for irrigation and to generate hydroelectric power. The Mangla Lake, besides serving as the reservoir of the dam, has also been developed as a fishing center and a tourist resort. Tarbela Dam. Tarbela Dam is built on Indus at Bara near the village of Tarbela. It is about 30 km from town of Attock. When the Indus leaves the Himalayan foothills and enters the Potwar Plateau, the water is stored in the reservoir of the dam. It is 143 meter high. It has reservoir area of 243 square kilometer, a storage capacity of 119 billion cubic meters of water, and it has 9 huge gates to control the outflow of water. Tarbela Dam is the world's largest earth-filled dam and the second project that was constructed under Indus Water Treaty. Near the Tarbela Dam, there are 2 big spillways from the reservoir which are impressive features. Small and large dams. A large dam is defined by the dam industry as one higher than 15 meter. It's the definition of large dam taller than a 4-story building. We have only 2 large dams, that are Tarbela and Mangla, which we have studied in previous slides. The rest of projects are either considered medium-sized project or small dams. Recently, government is working on feasibility study of constructing small dams in the country. A comparative analysis of purposes, cost, impact of environment and functions of small and large dams is given in chart we will discuss next. In order to solve the water problem of the country, the Small Dam Organization has identified about 150 sites for construction of small dams in country and is working on their feasibility reports. If we talk about large dams, they store water for irrigation. They irrigate vast area as compared to small dams. They supply water for industrial and domestic uses and also for irrigation. Major supplies, the huge dam provide more hydroelectric power generation. Silting problem is difficult to solve. Siltation is a major problem. It reduces the capacity of dam and it's difficult to overcome this problem in huge dams. Initial investment for the construction of dam is high. Large dams maintenance cost is also high. Construction time is more and does not yield quick result. If you see that Diyamir Bhasha Dam, you have heard about that it will take many years to be constructed. So huge dams take too much time for construction. More important for flood control. Yes, they can control floods. They are having lakes behind them, so they can control. They can store a huge quantity of water. Large scale evacuation is required. If at any place dam is going to be constructed, people have to be evacuated. And here is an example of people. They were near Mangla Dam, and when they are going to raise the Mangla project, they evacuated 40,000 people from that area. Large dams generally have a large range of extensive impacts on the river, watersheds and aquatic ecosystems that are more negative and have led to irreversible loss of species and ecosystem. Students, small dams store less water for irrigation. They only irrigate local area which is in their surrounding. They also supply water for industrial and domestic uses. They can make little electricity, not much. Silting problem in small dams is easy to solve. They required low cost, initial cost especially for construction. Their maintenance cost is also low. Construction time is less and yield quick result. Less important for flood control, like they cannot store a huge amount of water. Very few people are evacuated in order to construct the dam. It means that displacement of people for construction of dam is low. Small dam have little impact on environment. Siltation in reservoirs. When the river leaves the foothills of Himalayas, they carry a large quantity of silt as a result of deep erosion in mountain areas. As you know, when river is in deep gorges, it eroded the land, the surrounding area. This is deposited in the plains of Punjab and Sindh. Siltation is a menace that can destroy the purpose of dams and barrages. Irrigation, generation of hydroelectric power. The purpose of dam basically is we store water for irrigation or for the generation of hydroelectric power. But by the filling the reservoir with silt, the problem is created that capacity of dam is reduced. There is a need to control the deposition of silt through various engineering techniques. At Tarbela Dam, the inflow of 0.5 million tons of silt has created a 132-foot mound which is only 8 km away from the powerhouse. The water storage capacity is decreasing at Tarbela and Mangla reservoirs due to siltation. Siltation also decreases the life of any dam or reservoir. The storage capacity of the reservoir of the Chashma barrage has also come down to 42% of its capacity. Before the Tarbela Dam, Jinnah barrage and Chashma barrage were built. It was estimated that the river Indus at Kalabagh carried 1,115 tons of silt and sediment per square kilometer of the reservoir. much of which used to be laid on floodplains during the flood. So dear students, let's discuss about the causes, effects and control of siltation. First of all, causes. What are the main causes of siltation? Abundance of silt eroded from the Karakoram, Hindu Kush and Himalayan mountains. Why there is so much siltation in river on that time? Because river is fast flowing in mountain regions. That's why it has much more silt in it. Deforestation, ruthless cutting of trees for fuel and timber. Cutting of trees weaken the banks of rivers and canals. Rivers from narrow and deep valleys in mountain areas, most of eroded material is washed down into plains and pile up in reservoirs of the dam. Silt is fine particles of sand and clay. Its effects: blockage of canal because silt accumulates. When silt accumulate or gather in canal, it blocks the canals. It weakens the foundation of dams. Choking of irrigation canals. It reduced capacity of reservoirs and less flow of water affect the generation of hydroelectric power. It also results in availability of less water for irrigation purposes. Flow of flood water is hampered, which may cause heavy damage to the dam because of mounds of silt which block the flow of water. So, how we can control this siltation? Large-scale afforestation, especially on foothills of the Himalayas, on the banks of the rivers. We should cement the banks of rivers and canals. Installation of silt trap before the water flow to the dams. Regulation of flow of water, such as operating the reservoir at lower level during flood and allowing free flow during low flow season. Raising height of the dam to increase the capacity of the reservoir. Next you will watch a video that will explain you how siltation happen.
This is a stream we manufactured at the beach. We observed several different processes and structures forming. Visible at the water surface is a structure called standing waves. These indicate an upper flow regime in the stream. The shape of the standing waves reflect the shape of the stream bed, shown in the top right window. Standing waves are not static features. They can move with and against the flow of the stream. Here we can see the stream flowing around a curve. On the innermost side, the flow is slower and sediment is deposited. On the outermost side, the opposite is true. This causes the bank of the stream to collapse, as the faster flow erodes sediment from the bottom, causing instability, and the top of the bank slumps into the channel. If the energy level of the stream were to decrease, it would begin to form lower flow regime structures, such as dune migration. These are caused when sediment is eroded from the Stoss side of the dune and deposited onto the Lee. Here we can see 2-point bars at different stages of formation. These form when an object gets stuck in the stream, represented by these two pebbles. Immediately behind the pebbles, there is a drop in energy, causing the deposition of sediment. The top pebble shows a well-formed point bar, and the lower one shows.
Here is a cue box. Statement 1 is small dams are more suitable for Pakistan's economy than large ones because they require low initial investment and silting problem is easier to solve. The next statement is Pakistan need large dams such as the Kalabagh for projects including the generation of electricity and for flood control. Which statement do you agree with more? Give reasons for your answer and refer to places or examples you have studied in Pakistan to support your answer. Here are your assignment questions. Write a note on Indus Water Treaty. You have studied. I thoroughly explained it. Study your assigned pages again and write down about Indus Water Treaty. Your second question is discuss the conventional systems of irrigation. We have discussed in detail about all conventional irrigation systems. Watch this video again and write down about conventional systems. The third question is about skill book pages, that is page number 9 and 10. If you have studied the pages thoroughly, you can complete this easily.